Degenerate Life Podcast.
Damn, that was annoying.
Hey, where's Jake? What's going on with Jake? Why isn't Jake there?
Yeah, there's been just emails and letters just flooding the office here. It's like everybody's worried about Jake, and from I mean the listeners from before would know. Jake was the co-host with me on the Degenerate Life Podcast, and things have changed. You want to fill them in, JPX?
Yeah, well, there's been a little bit of nastiness. I hate to start it off on a negative tip here. There's going to be a little bit of drama here. But, people out there, we had originally planned on this being a 4-man podcast. But unfortunately, I have to announce that Jake has been fired. Jake owns a hot sauce company called Nuke's Hot Sauce. And after we bought the Degenerate Life brand, Jake sent Stuntman Mike and I a case of Nuke's Hot Sauce. And right away, as soon as I tasted it, I knew something was different. I'm a big fan of hot sauce, and as much as I hate to say this, it was far better than any hot sauce I've ever tried. And, I called up Stuntman Mike, and he loved it even more than I did. And since that day, Stuntman Mike has been using Nuke's Hot Sauce nonstop, and he's developed a debilitating addiction to it. Mike, I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but the other night, you remember I swung by your place, and you had two gorgeous girls on either side of you, and they're sitting there trying to get you in the mood. And the Stuntman Mike that I knew, you would have had your mouth all over these girls, but you only had your mouth on that hot sauce bottle. You were just chugging it right out of the bottle, and that stuff's hot. So,
absolutely,
kind of worried about you.
Yeah, it happens, man. I mean, it's really good stuff, Nuke's Hot Sauce, and it's just, totally took me over, and the women don't even matter, man. I just am totally into the hot sauce now. I can eat it basically on anything.
Yeah, this is like your Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue era, Nuke's Hot Sauce addiction there. I mean, we're kind of worried about you. I mean, this is the first episode of our podcast, but in a way, this is kind of an intervention also. We're worried about you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll fade away. It's just kind of, how like once you get something new in your life, like a new car or like a new hobby or whatever, how you just want to do it all the time. I'm sure after a while it'll fade away, and get back to normal. But, for now, I'm just really, really enjoying it. Nuke's Hot Sauce. So, but I appreciate your concern though.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat, man. I mean, we still love you. You've been kind of acting a little crazy lately, but you're going to get through this.
Well, I appreciate that. I definitely need some. I appreciate the positive feedback, and like you said, Cody, I'm going to get through it. One day at a time. That's all it takes.
Yeah, we're here for you, and our audience is here for you too. So that's what we're getting at here. This is we're gonna get a lot better over the time.
Yeah,
right.
This is the Degenerate Life audience. This is gonna be our family. All the people out there listening, there's gonna be our family, man. They're gonna be lifers. Okay, so they're gonna support you too, brother. Okay, it ain't just us.
I definitely appreciate the support, right now and in the future.
You're going to have legions of fans out there supporting you. But, man, I just want to say, man, that's why we fired Jake, okay? Jake, if you're listening, I'm going to tell you something, buddy. I'm going to tell you something in front of the world. You knew good and well how good Nuke's Hot Sauce was when you sent it to us, okay? I don't know if you were trying to sabotage the show. You didn't like that me and Mike bought the brand or whatever. but you knew that me and Mike needed to be on top of our game for this show, and you sent us this hot sauce it's like the heroin of hot sauce. Okay, you know, I had it tested, and there was actually no illicit substance. It was only all natural ingredients. But I mean, for you to do that and sabotage the show, man, I can't forgive you for that, man. Yeah,
it's not impressive. It's not good.
I'm sorry if I got a little worked up there, but
yeah,
you know, Cody, I know that's your friend and all, but you know, it just makes me sick that how can he do this to us?
I don't know. We might have to, you know, just kind of let it go for now. What do you think? What do you think, Stuntman Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just let it go for now. It sounds like it was just maybe an honest mistake, you know, quote unquote mistake. But you know, it seems like the dude has good intentions, Jake.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll let it slide for now. You know, I don't like to hold a grudge, so you know, we can let it go.
Okay. Well,
all right.
We'll move on. We're gonna get through this, guys.
Yeah. Well, if anybody else out there wants to live on the wild side and try Nuke hot sauce, go to nukessauces.com. That's NEWKSSAUCES.com and use promo code Degenerate Life for 10% off your order if you want to end up like Stuntman Mike.
Yeah, that's if.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So, Stuntman Mike, I know you're ready to introduce the herbstomp.com interview of the week. And everybody go to herbstomp.com and use promo code Degenerate Life for 25% off. Okay? And Mike, man, take it away.
Yeah, man, we got a very special guest tonight. You know, the one and only, the legendary drummer from the band Fear. We got the one and only Spit Stix with us tonight. It's definitely an honor to have him here with us.
Yeah! Spit Stix!
Woohoo!
You out there, brother?
I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. How's it going?
All good, dude. I'm finishing off this bottle of tequila. I think it's watered down. I haven't felt anything yet.
Yeah, he's got a half bottle down already. So we're just chilling out here.
I have a high tolerance.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, that's cool. Okay, man. I know this has probably been asked a million times. You probably had to answer this a million times. You're probably sick of answering it.
Never.
But I just have to know about a certain incident that you were involved with. What was it like recording Lost Rhetoric episode 50 with Jason Dinges?
That was crazy, man. I was totally wired out of my brain, and I was having a great time hitting some things I hadn't talked about with anyone for decades, probably. So it was good getting some stuff off my chest, but that was great. I totally dug it, and I totally dug what you guys had to say afterwards. Felt like it was an honor to be to have it combed through again.
Yeah, it was a great episode, man. Thank you on behalf of all the Lost Rhetoric fans out there.
Yeah, dude. No, I dug it.
Yeah, I thought that episode was really fun and awesome. I thought you did a really good job. And I'm so stoked to have you in the studio, even though we work together. He's got an Herb Stomp shirt on. He just came from work.
Yep.
He actually came from the other shop, and now we're at the HS headquarters with some fucking bomb-ass mics, and it's going to be fucking awesome. So
yeah, man. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for showing up.
Yeah, man.
Great.
My pleasure, man.
So, I want to get into some good old stories right off the bat. You know, like I want to hear some crazy tour stories. Basically, every time I walk into a room that you're in, you're telling a story where somebody broke somebody's arm and just all kinds of, oh shit, we got into a limousine. I love these stories, and I want to get you on TV film without the TV. ripping on some of these stories.
Yeah, man.
So rip any one of them.
Yeah, the Limousine Story. I think what comes to mind there is like being in a limo after Fear got signed to Slash Records with Darby Crash, and Darby. It's raining in L.A. and we're in a limo, and he says, "Stop the car!" And he stops the car, opens the door, he pulls out a syringe, and he starts siphoning out gutter water out of the street. And just to be a tough punk dude, he shoots it up right in front of all of us.
Wow.
It's like, okay, smart dude. That's really good. And then I'm like, dude, that'll kill you, man. He's like, when I die, I'm going to be a god. And I was like, okay, good luck with that. And then the irony of that is he died a day before John Lennon was murdered.
Yeah.
So he wasn't in the news.
Oh, wow. So that one just breezed by, passed right through.
So sorry, you died on the wrong day, dude.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he thought he was going to be, a huge headline, and then John Lennon just, obviously just pushed him to the back page.
Yeah. And he was an entertainer, and, and he's super popular, and there's a cult following for him. But my experience with him is every time I saw him, he'd come up to me with this. He always had this Brooklyn accent, even though I don't think he was from Brooklyn. But he's like, "Buy me a beer." And I'm like, he'd always ask people to buy him a beer, like it was everyone owed him a beer or something. But I never got it. But
did he have
Give me a beer.
Somebody buy me a beer.
Did he have the Godhead syndrome?
I think so. Yeah, I think he did, and he couldn't perform. It's what I understand, unless he was like high. He was like, and as you watch the decline of him.
Yeah.
And Gary Hursties was doing the sound at the time, and Gary's telling him to pick up his mic because he's singing without the mic.
Oh man!
But he was having a good time. That's important.
The characters. The characters
ahead.
that you've had throughout the years, it's just phenomenal. Like you were there with basically everybody who's anybody in the DIY scene.
True, but so many of them, dude, have passed away, unfortunately. So many people I know, so many friends. What's the Jim Carroll song? All the people that died. Unfortunately, so many people checked out. Whereas I had a kid when I was 28, and I think that straightened me out. That was like, I didn't stay at the party as long as some people did in those days because I had to go home and do my job with my kid. I had to take my turn feeding my kid. Yeah. I think that saved my life, kind of. I tell my kid that, you saved my life.
Yeah, because you really got your shit together, and most of these guys didn't pull through. You got Belushi passed away, and you got a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Does it get for how many people you've known that are just iconic people that have passed away? Do you just sit and dwell and think about this?
Not at all. I think I've asked them for help. At times, when I really needed help with an audition or money or something, I'm like, all right, dudes, if anything you could do for me, hook me up, and they come through. So in a sense, they're still there, I guess. And maybe it's my imagination, but coincidentally, is when I've asked for some of my past musician buddies' help, I've gotten it.
So do you feel like they're still kind of here with you? Yeah,
I think when I need them, they're here.
That's awesome. Well, you're a really good guy. I'm really glad I met you. I want to tell you a story about the first time that I didn't meet you, but I saw you play with Lickety, and it was at I think it was like the Hobbit Hole or somewhere down like Woodstock area, Felony Flats area in Portland.
Right.
And there was like lasers going everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Smoke machines.
And I think the band after you, I can't remember what band that was. There was like an archway, and there was this huge lady that was like basically that because Lickety wasn't like a heavy punk rock band,
No,
really. It was like more psychedelic,
Yeah,
right?
it was psychedelic, kind of drum and bassy.
Yeah, this other band was like really like just like really heavy. And this chick was just like arms folded and beating the shit out of everybody, like throwing them into bookcases. and it was just like I was like standing in the kitchen because there was beer on the floor everywhere. And there's all these fucking kids just thrashing, but this chick was beating the fuck out of everybody. And that's a memory, you know, like I didn't get to meet you at that point. I didn't even know who you really were at that point. I think I heard that you were in Fear, but I didn't put everything together until like probably like after that show. And I was like, oh yeah. I remember Mitch coming home and he's like, yeah, that's the drummer for Fear. And he was all stoked because he's a drummer and like you're an iconic person, you know. Yeah, that was a fun fucking.
I wonder if that was Johnny beating everyone up.
It might have been, but I know Johnny, and I think it was somebody else, but it looked like Johnny. Okay. It did look like.
I remember I did a show. She was bartending at Dunes on MLK, and the singer from the band after Lickety played was just doing shots all night, and he starts pulling down the art off the wall, and then he picks up the snare drum from the drummer and he throws it at the audience and it hits this girl with a piercing in her lip, and I was standing right next to her. It almost hit me, and she immediately goes down and is bleeding. Johnny just appears from behind the bar and pushes the guy out the front door, goes, "You're 86th." And he grabs her tube top, and as he goes to pull her tube top down, her right arm comes back.
Yeah.
And then and it was like lightning speed. She punches him in the nose, and he's unconscious on the ground with a broken nose. And she's like, "Call the police."
Geez, you know, it could have been she is a firecracker. You know, like I don't want to get.
She's an awesome entertainer and keyboard player. She's awesome.
I love her. I just don't ever want to get in a fight with her.
But she impressed me. It was like, holy shit. It was like, there's a girl holding her own.
Yeah, it could have been that Johnny was there too. I think I remember this. I think it was a little bit taller lady, but maybe it could have been Johnny. It was.
Johnny doesn't take shit.
Very strong.
If you cross
woman.
the line with her, she will let you have it.
Yeah, JPX, Stuntman Mac, these guys. I mean, like this lady was just beating the shit out of them, like throwing them into bookcases. And I was brand new to the Portland scene, and I was just like, wow, this is so fucking awesome. Like we're at a house show, we got Spit Stix here, you know, just like it was just like, wow, we landed in the right spot because I came from North Dakota, you know, like we didn't have no drummers from Fear, we didn't have this kind of stuff. We did have the fights and stuff, but nothing like this.
It's all entertainment.
So I just want to go back. So he takes a syringe of dirty water from the gutter, rainwater, and did he shoot it up directly in his vein or just like in his arm or like what?
Directly in his arm, in his left arm.
Oh, I mean, but like he in the vein or just in the arm?
In the vein.
Oh my God! How did he not die from that?
I don't know. It's probably pretty painful to put cold water in your vein. Probably immediately give you a headache. But he was probably already shot something else up that night, so he wasn't feeling any pain.
Did you see any difference in his actions?
No, not really. He was just, wanted to be a tough guy and just out tough everyone else.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Well, do you have any other Darby Crash stories that you can tell?
Yeah, not that I can think of. I just remember every time I played a gig with him, he'd come in with his Cockney mohawk, marching in like he owned the place, screaming, "Somebody buy me a beer." That was like his classic line. It was like, dude, I'm tired of this. We're all musicians at soundcheck here, dude. Nobody cares. You don't have to put on a show for us.
Did you guys like make fun of each other all the time, like in that kind of crowd?
I don't know. It's depending on the bands, who they were. There were certain bands who we made fun of, but other bands like took us really seriously, like the band X, who I'm still friends with. I remember playing a show with them early on, and Fear's whole thing was kind of reverse psychology, Don Rickles. All the other bands were like, hey, I'd love to be here tonight. You people are great. Your energy's feeding us, and we're feeding you back. And it was just all this, like, everyone was the same. They're rap to the audience. And Fear's thing was just the opposite. It was like, you all stink, and you suck, and you need to get a haircut.
Fuck you.
So they spit on us, and they yell things, and it was like, but they wouldn't leave, and they'd buy more beer, and they'd throw their beers at us, and they'd have to buy more beer. We're like, great. And then X would come on, and they're like spitting on X and telling X they're playing too slow. So I remember John coming up to us and saying, I don't think we could do shows with you guys anymore. Your audience is kind of too violent. And it was like, we don't have an audience. That's your audience. We just fucked with them.
Because that's what you guys did right off the bat, didn't you?
Pretty much.
Just kind of fucked with.
I think Lee Ving got it from Little Richard. He had seen Little Richard like in the 60s, and Little Richard, took forever to finally come out on to the stage, and it was a sellout crowd, and everyone's packed up against the stage wearing nice clothes, probably at those shows, and Little Richard comes out with a can of Right Guard, and he goes across everyone in the front row, and he tells them they stink. And I think Lee Ving never forgot that. He was like, I like that. That's what I want to do. And then, of course, Don Rickles. And I think that's kind of where Lee got his shtick. But it was kind of appropriate for punk because all the dinosaur bands kissed ass to their audience. And it was like, okay, that's already taken. But what's left?
Yeah, because you guys were in the pioneer days, you know?
And early on, it's like the first Fear gig I ever did. And I was playing jazz and fusion before Fear, and I was like the jazz drummer. It's like everyone in Fear was like, oh, he's a jazz drummer. And I played rock, but it was kind of boring until I heard the Sex Pistols, and I was like, okay, this is funny. I like this kind of rock. But I was hired, I guess you could say. I passed the audition, and their first gig was playing in San Francisco at the Mabuhay Gardens and opening for the Dead Kennedys. And so we get to the gig, and it's a sellout show. But someone of the Dead Kennedys is sick, and they can't do the gig. So now we're headlining, but we got a sellout show, the Dead Kennedys audience. So it was a perfect time for us to play in front of a brand new audience, and it was my first gig playing with Fear. And the audience, of course, went crazy. And I thought, this isn't like playing jazz where everyone's sipping their martini with their backs to you talking, This is like really interesting and really fun and high energy. And that was kind of our introduction. I remember just being there and just talking backstage about loving Frisco, we mentioned. And someone said, you don't say Frisco. That's really rude. You say San Francisco or San Fran or SF. You don't say Frisco. So it's like, okay, I know what we're going to do. And it's like, and of course, San Francisco is notorious. A lot of homosexuals living in San Francisco. So we're like, we're from Frisco. Yeah, we're gay and we're from Frisco. And it was totally the opposite.
That one's on film, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's for many years. But I would walk into gigs and I could hear people muttering behind me. It's like, oh, they're gay. It's like, yes, they got it. They took
the bait.
They took the bait, yeah. So that's really where that'll stem from.
So
is that where? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's it's an interesting time where now you wouldn't be able to like start off a band like that at all.
Not at all. There's so many things. I mean, there's so much. At the time, there was serial murders really loose, like Hillside Strangler, Richard Ramirez was loose, Ted Bundy had just been caught. So those late 70s, early 80s, there were really serial murders. So a lot of the Fear songs were kind of like dispersing some of that by just, talking about cutting people up and throwing them in ditches. And it was very misogynistic, and it was kind of a balance to the saccharine atmosphere of the music and the music industry up to that point was very very rote and very boilerplate and just boring, and Pink Floyd and Uriah Heep, and a lot of these bands were just slow and low energy, and so it was like anything to be opposite of that is what happened. And now it couldn't exist. It would just be obscene to try and do something like that now.
And that's a sad thing, because the way that it punctured through, not to
true, yeah.
It just resonated, and it's like, you guys got it right. Fuck you, I don't care about you. Type of thing. But really,
the Carpenters were out, and all the saccharine things on the 50s radio was left over, 40s radio was left over, and all this saccharine sweet stuff, and the Victorian, like, you couldn't say, you couldn't, the closest you can talk about having sex was like, I want to make love to you.
Yeah.
And now we have rap music and our punk music that is blatant, it's like you couldn't do that at that time. So it's like, this is never going to get on the radio, so you could say whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, I got kind of a question for Spit Stix, Stuntman Mike here.
Yeah.
But, you brought up the Dead Kennedys, how you guys ended up, I think you took over the show or whatever. Yeah. They couldn't make the show. Mm-hmm. Just a random question. Like, I know you all, Fear had the album More Beer or whatever. I think Fear was actually, you all came out before the Dead Kennedys, if I did my research right.
Well, but Fear released a record in 77. I wasn't in the band yet. There was a different drummer, Johnny Backbeat.
Okay.
And that was 77. Dead Kennedys came out in 77, as I believe. I'll have to ask Biafra next time I see him. But the drummer's girlfriend didn't like punk, so she made him quit. And then they were without a drummer, and a buddy of mine was playing guitar in the band for a short while, and he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was interested in rock only if it were punk, because punk, after hearing Anarchy in the UK in 76, my brother and I formed a punk band called Spit for a very short time, wrote a few songs, never played out, and then we kind of lost interest, and then when my buddy Bert asked me to join Fear, it was like, okay, yeah, I like punk rock. I don't like corporate rock, but I like punk rock because it's indignant. It's, I loved and then when the Sex Pistols record came out in 77, it was right before I joined Fear. And I remember hearing Pretty Vacant on KROQ. And when I heard Sid Vicious say the lyric for Pretty Vacant as pretty vacant, it was like, he did it. He got it on the radio.
Yeah, snuck it in there, right?
He did. And that's where my little saying QFA came out, and I started making T-shirts for myself. QFA, which is letter Q and then dash FA, which is, I just made it a chant. QFA, QFA, QFA. It's just QFA.
Oh, okay.
And it was really from Pretty Vacant is where I got the idea. It was like taking the word and breaking it up. And then when we did Saturday Night Live, I put it on my bass drum. And the censor dude is this guy that looked like Pee Wee Herman with a clipboard. And he came up to me and looked at my bass drum head. It said QFA, 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 QFA all the way around it. And he goes, "What is that? What's that say?" And I'm like, "It's a chant." And he was like, "Okay." He didn't even say it. And not that you can see it on the TV, but it was there. It was QFA, QFA, QFA. I wanted to get it on national TV, but I didn't get. You can't quite see it, but it was there.
Well, at least you didn't start QAnon.
No, I didn't get.
You definitely, you're not the creator of that. It's it should be a fuck you.
It should be right. It should be a QFA.
We should bring that back. Fuck you.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
now,
hey,
real quick, with the I know, like with the Dead Kennedys, I know they had that song Too Drunk to Fuck.
Uh-huh.
And I know that was more of, I think with them it was more of like a joke, because like I think Jello Biafra was really a sarcastic kind of guy.
He's super smart.
I know
he's Jello Biafra is a super selfless person.
He's
if
smart,
you know
yeah.
him, he's very selfless and he's very smart and he's very humble cat. If you know him personally, you'd think of him differently than how I guess mainstream media wants you to think of him. He's been raided by the FBI and he's taken shit from the Dead Kennedys band.
Right.
And they've tried to rehire him for $1 million and he won't do it. They've screwed him over
I'm
so
a
many
big
times.
fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan
he's
of
a
Dead
great
Kennedys.
person. Yeah, me too. But unfortunately, they went their way and they burned him so many times. He's just not going to work with them.
Right. Well, with Fear, like with more beer, were you guys like big beer drinkers, or
Yeah, definitely.
or was that sarcastic?
All
too?
of us. I think I'm the only one that still drinks beer, but
Okay.
absolutely. I mean,
That's cool.
there was
Yeah, I
so
was
many
wondering.
days where we'd be on the road and I was always designated driver and
Right.
pretty much the most sober dude in the band, and that's probably why I'm probably still healthy. But 7:30 in the morning, we'd have to get on the road to drive like 10 hours to the next gig. So Philo and Lee were like, let's stop at 7-Eleven and get some ice and beer and put it on ice so it's cold for later. So 7:30 in the morning, we packed the beer in the cooler, and I'm driving. 5 minutes later, I hear, tsh, tsh. It's like, I turn around, they're already drinking beer. It's 7:45 in the morning.
Damn.
So serious, dude. Those guys are hardcore. And I remember, even when Flea was in the band, I remember driving home from San Francisco, and I got Flea laughing so hard, and he was eating peanuts and drinking beer, and we're throwing the empty beer bottles out the cargo van door so we don't have open containers. So we're shooting him, opening the cargo door while we're driving 60 miles an hour on the freeway. He even empties out the door onto the side of the road. And Flea is laughing so hard while he's eating peanuts and drinking beer that he's got beer and peanuts coming out of his nose.
He's got peanut butter coming out of his mouth.
How long was he in the band for?
A little over a year. And then he and I were writing songs for the band, and our songs weren't ending up on the set list on the shows. And he and I are looking at each other, scratching our heads like, where are our songs? And so it was really discouraging for both of us. But he had this other band, and it wasn't called Chili Peppers at the time. I forget what it was called, something of Mayhem, I forget. But the original band is his three buddies from high school. And they all went skiing together. That's how they got their names. And Angeles Crest Forest. And they all went to Fairfax High. So they're all high school buddies. And they had this band. And I totally supported this other band that Flea was doing before Fear even. And they were kind of jealous that he joined Fear because it was taking time away from them. But I was recording this girl, Boo Berry, this reggae singer. And I had super cheap studio time at this place, Studio 9 on Hollywood and Western. And I told him about it. I said, I can block the whole day out for $200 and we could rent the tape. You know, we don't need to keep the tape. We're just making demos. So he and Anthony came up with the money, and we went in the studio, and I had him get sounds on songs other than what they were going to record. So I made sure I got all first takes. But that's how I got them in the studio for the first time. It was because of Fear wasn't doing Flea's material, and I wanted to encourage Flea to do his material. And that was a perfect outlet for it, of course. And he wasn't being encouraged in Fear to write material, whereas Chili Peppers were encouraging him. And he was totally perfect, you know, at the time for what was going on, for that high energy, funky stuff. And it was very much like the band Defunct. If you ever hear the band Defunct, you'll hear kind of where Anthony and Flea kind of got some inspiration from this band Defunct. And I hear it too, but that's kind of what I think inspired them to form that original lineup.
In a little over a month, the 40th anniversary of the Fear Saturday Night Live incident
Yeah, coming up in October.
is going to be here. Can you take us back to that incident? When did you first hear that you were going to be performing?
That was really bizarre. I was hanging out with John every day for weeks and maybe a month or so before he passed away. So John and I were hanging out a lot, and right after I first met him, he wasn't able to get a hold of anyone else in the band, so he called me up and he says, "Hey, I want to have a drink with you." So I met him at On the Rocks, and he and I, just the two of us, shut the shit and drank millions of beers and partied. And then he's like, "You got to do Saturday Night Live," and I'm like, "Yeah, right." That's like beer talking, or he was drinking vodka, and so I went home and pissed out 14 beers, and thinking like, it's never gonna happen. And like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, this guy calls me. He's like, "This is Eric from Rockefeller Center. What kind of stage you guys want?" I'm like, "What? Who?" And he's like, "You guys are doing Saturday Night Live." And that's how I found out. Because John said he wanted us to do it, but I didn't. I thought it was this new dude that I just met, just talking out of his ass. But it turns out he was serious. And this guy, Eric, he goes, "What kind of set do you want?" I didn't know what to say. Having watched Saturday Night Live so little, I was like, an alley scene? He's like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "I think we're doing Saturday Night Live." And that's how I found out. It was like...
And did you tell Lee and the rest of the band?
Yeah, after that, of course, I called everyone and said, "I just got a call from someone at Rockefeller Center." It's like, and of course, the thing was like wildfire by that time. We all told everyone. And apparently John told me, I think John said that he had asked the Circle Jerks and the Go-Go's as well, but the Go-Go's dissed him, and Circle Jerks didn't take him seriously. So I don't think we were the first to get asked even to do it, but...
Was this his pull, Belushi's pull during that show? Like maybe he had the pull to say, "Hey, I could bring on any band that I want"?
He was very close to like Michael O'Donoghue, one of the chief writers, Tim Kazurinsky. So he still had good friends within the show who were still active on the show. And those people kind of... What John told me is he wasn't treated really respectfully by a lot of the crew. They kind of looked at him like, "You're temporary."
Yeah.
And, they didn't like his drug use but they didn't know him. It's like, if you know John, he was just a selfless, awesome, humble dude.
Well, that's what happens with Saturday Night Live. It goes through these, headstrong people from the top down. A lot of people have complaints over how they get treated.
I think maybe that's what happened, but they didn't really know John. They didn't realize, they didn't get the joke that John's like an intelligent, very humble, compassionate person. They just saw the Animal House side of him, and maybe they saw, a side of him that was the entertainer side, that he had to put on this facade. Maybe he got a little high, to put on that facade, and they didn't like that or something, because they couldn't get high, and they just had to do their jobs, and they were union, and I think he kind of resented the way they treated him, because that was unfair, because if you know him, he shouldn't have been treated poorly. So it was kind of a sweet revenge when he asked us to do the show, because no one had seen slam dancing, as it was called back then. There wasn't really a mosh pit yet. It was kind of a transition from pogoing to slam dancing. And he wanted to demonstrate that live, and he had seen us on a show called New Wave Theater. A friend of his, Peter Ivers, was the host, and Peter Ivers had a black belt in karate, unbeknownst to us, and we were on the New Wave Theater, and Peter's character on that show was kind of androgynous, so we kind of made fun of it, and we gave him a wedgie and did a mock beating him up on the show. Of the host of the show, we pretend like we weren't landing punches, but it looked like it. And he showed that to Belushi, and Belushi's like, "I want to meet these guys."
Nice.
So that was kind of Belushi's introduction to us. So he wanted us. He immediately saw that and said, "These guys belong on Saturday Night Live." He wanted to pull that shtick onto national TV. But it intimidated a lot of the crew. Even Eddie Murphy, when he was walking around, was like, "What is this punk shit?" He was like,
it's so brand new.
It was
such a in your face type.
It's true.
thing.
No one had seen it, and their only comparison at the time was Clockwork Orange or the Hells Angels or something. So the cast and crew, who pretty much filled the bleachers at Saturday Night Live, their cast and crew's family and friends, it's not really the public, were all standing up the whole show. They thought, I better know where the door is. They were really afraid. They didn't realize that all those people on stage know each other, and there was like camaraderie and respect between people jumping around and throwing things, to them it was really frightening. So and John knew it was entertainment too.
He knew what was going on. It's like, hey, this is fun. This is the world I want to be in.
It's just what I saw when my first Fear show. Is like, this is fun.
So
I heard that. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I heard that Dead Kennedys were supposed to be that he originally wanted the Dead Kennedys to perform, and for some reason that fell through. And
I didn't hear that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. He told me it was Go-Go's and Circle Jerks.
Oh, okay. Well, if John told you that personally, then I believe that.
Yeah. He said Go-Go's dissed him, like, who's this fat guy who wants to get in our pants? And it wasn't about that. He was like, hey, this will make good entertainment. This will make a good show. And Circle Jerks were also brand new and totally vibrant. Keith had just been kicked out of Black Flag, and so he was like hot property. So
did this show catapult you guys into like more fame, or were you guys already kind of there at that point?
I think it got us signed on Slash because Bob Biggs, president of Slash, got it, and his wife Penelope Spheris, they got it. They understood we were entertainers, and there was a little tongue in cheek there, and a smirk on my face that we weren't really, murderous. But when we played Saturday Night Live, no decent club wanted to have us for about a year. We were kings on the street level, but crap as far as getting decent venues.
So
because they were sure we were going to do the Van Halen TV in the swimming pool.
so that was the point when it really turned. That was the tipping point for the band and basically the world, where the world like public, a big TV show saw a punk band for the first time basically ever.
That's true. I mean, and they saw slam dancing for the first time, and they didn't know. They thought it was a riot because what happened is someone picked up a pumpkin. It was Halloween, and you start practicing on Wednesday. So it wasn't LED lights at the time. It was can lighting, so it was halogen. So those pumpkins heated up over 3 days, and they were soft. So during the show, someone picked a pumpkin up and threw it because just to add to the chaos. But it hit. Dick Ebersol was the producer, and he had his navy blue NBC jacket on with the rainbow peacock, and this pumpkin started to come apart midair before it hit him. So it hit him, and he immediately just starts the cut sign on his throat, like cut, cut, cut to commercial, cut, cut. He's telling all the cameras. So we just pretended like we didn't see him, like, we don't see you saying cut. We just kept playing, but they went to commercial. We finished our songs. Well, we ended up playing 4 songs. I think 3 got aired, which is pretty unusual. But
well, that's a terrible pumpkin, man.
It was. It came apart midair.
We got pumpkins for sale at Herb Stomp right now.
Sure, that $2.50 and $3 for the babies.
Yeah, you know the prices. I don't even know the prices. I grew them though.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I got one more thing to touch up, and I know these guys are really antsy about. I'm sure they have a list of 1,000 questions.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just touch up and just get the record straight. Belushi and you were hanging out for about 2 months before the show, right?
Well, I know. I hung up with him more after the show, but we were hanging out prior to it. Once I met him, what happened is he wanted to do a song for the movie Neighbors that he was working on.
Okay.
So he wanted to record it. So we recorded it, Fear recorded it, and kind of wrote it with him.
That's right.
At low budget studio. I think it was Sunset Sound. I forget where it was in LA. And then he just wanted to take his time trying vocal ideas. So he hired me as a producer just to go in the studio and work on his vocals till he got some vocal ideas and got lyric ideas. And so I was just working with him over a rough Fear track, his vocals ideas. So that was probably on and off for about a month or so. We hung out. Not every day did we go in the studio. Some days we just hang out and party and go and eat. And John could snap his fingers at 4 a.m. and the cook would show up. It was pretty awesome.
The cook?
Yeah, we'd go to the Rainbow or on the Rocks, and it was closed, but he could get in. And then we'd go in there, and 10 minutes later, the chef would show up, rubbing his eyes, like, "What do you guys want to eat?"
So that's where you guys really started to become friends.
Yeah, we did.
And then
There was other friends. Tino Insana was how we met John. Tino Insana's he's passed now, but a comedy writer, as well as an actor, and just a Second City TV comedian who was part of, the Bill Murray, Tim Kazurinsky. There's a lot of the Second City dudes that John was a part of, those Chicago comedians. And Tino was taking bass lessons from Durf, is how John got our number. And so Tino got Durf's number, then Durf gave him all of our numbers. But it was that period of time right before he passed away that I was hanging out with him the most. And in that period of time, we were hanging out at different people's houses, or we go like what's now the Viper Room. We'd places like that. He and I just would walk in. Of course, we'd just get carte blanche. And we walk up to the stage and we're like, hey, we want to play a song. And the band's like, okay, whatever you want to do. I just remember going into the Viper Room and I'm like, what do you want to sing, John? He's like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I'm like, do you know any Hendrix? He's like, yeah, Fire. I remember John just singing Fire and me playing drums, one song, and it's like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It was just spontaneous stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I love spontaneous stuff. That's like my favorite part of this
That's
existence.
how John was. He was totally in the present. He was so fucking famous. Here he had Blues Brothers. He was Saturday Night Live. He's got, what else was he doing? He's got hit after hit after hit. And he's, a movie star, Animal House, of course. And he's the top of his game, but he's so selfless. And that's what people miss about him. They just like, oh, he's just a drug addict. And they see the Animal House and they want to shove up
They didn't know him.
Cheeseburger in his mouth. They didn't know him.
Do you know his brother?
Yeah, and when
he lives south of Portland somewhere.
Oh, word?
He has got a weed farm, I guess.
Oh, nice. I met Jim after John passed. John, one of my other buddies, John Melvoin, who passed away, a keyboard player for Smashing Pumpkins. John brought Jim out to my rehearsal studio where Fear practiced, and we also jammed. So we went out there one day to jam with Jim, and when I opened the door up, Jim said, I said, this is where we jammed with your brother. And when I opened the door up, he goes, my brother had a great time here, didn't he? And I go, yeah, he did, because he was just a musician. He wasn't some famous dude. And that's what he was. He just felt like he was a musician trapped in an actor's body. And he just wanted to be Buddy Miles. He just wanted to sing and play drums. That's really, and I guess his wife and Judy and he would, that's where they connected. And that's really who John was. He just, all the other stuff was just, icing on the cake. John, the root of John was just, he just wanted to be one of us, just a musician. He just wanted to hang out with musicians and not have everyone fawn over him.
Yeah. Stuntman Mike!
Is it? Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, Stuntman Mike.
Code Red, Cody Cluin.
Are you really a stuntman?
He is?
I don't know, man.
I worked on Dukes of
What's your
Hazzard.
definition of a stunt, man?
One of my first movie business gigs was watching the parking lot for Dukes of Hazzard crew. And I remember watching every Dukes of Hazzard show. They'd, total a General Lee car, and there was like 13 at least always on set. And I remember every time the stunt guy would get out of the car after it went over those giant jumps you see, and transmission would bottom out. Of course, then they put in a active moving a real car. Every time the stunt guy would come out, shaking his hands and holding his back. It's like they were always fucked up, and it was an extra $1,000 those guys got for every jump. But every time, no matter who the stunt guy was, they always shook their hands as soon as they got out and held their back.
See, Stuntman Mac, he can get you a fucking real stunt.
Yeah, dude, General Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would do it for sure.
I mean, you could definitely parachute out of a fucking elephant's ass or something like that, right?
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'll do anything, man.
Yeah,
like I'll jump out of a 747 or anything.
How about we get you into? Yeah, we make an elephant swallow you. We'll put you in a capsule. We make an elephant swallow you. We'll drag you up. Where's the stratosphere? It's really high.
30,000, and give the elephant a lot of beans.
Yeah, and just he'll blast you out the back, and then you're strapped onto a big bean, another bean.
Yeah, it could be a bean, just to do like a bean theme, because beans give you a lot of superpowers.
Yeah, and that's your parachute, and then that's your first stunt, and you'll be world famous. It's like, man, Spit Stix sent me up here, and we'll film the whole thing. Yeah, are you okay with that?
Yeah, they can't smell anything on TV.
So like being like shat out of a elephant's ass, and then like free falling, and then parachuting, basically.
Yeah, with like maybe half of a bean. That's your parachute.
Be it like a Goya sponsored thing.
You said half of a beam or bean?
Bean, like a big bean, like a giant bean. We'll grow like the biggest bean in the world, cut it in half, and then like you hold that like with your two arms, and you're using that as your parachute. You
could maybe eat a lot of beans for projectile jet.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I don't die, I would do it. I mean, I would do it.
Yeah.
Well, even if you do, we can edit it.
Yeah, you're not going to die. It's like this is all safe.
Shoot, I mean, I don't know. I'm still kicking, so I would do it. You know, even if like something went wrong, I'm sure I would survive.
Well, you always have, right? Up until now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thousands and thousands of stunts until now. I mean, I like to have a positive outlook on life, so I definitely do not think anything bad would ever happen to me.
No,
you can't.
In terms of the stunts.
All right, so decline of Western civilization. That was before SNL, right?
Yeah.
So where did you record that? And so on that movie, they only show 3 or 4 songs, but you did a full set, right?
Yeah, that venue was a bowling alley. My girlfriend at the time was a real estate agent, and she had access to that place, and it was called the Arena, is what it was named as a venue. And there was a gigantic, Penelope made it like a 10-foot by 12-foot sign saying you were being filmed. So everyone that went in there kind of knew that they were on. So everyone was kind of like hamming it up a little bit. So there was that element. So there's a little bit of hamming it up as far as people that are on the stage, because there's so many cameras, of course. So there's that element. It was kind of elevated a little bit. But the venue was a regular gig, but with the camera crew. So we did our full set, and Penelope filmed a lot of our set and edited out. There's some new footage, that's come out since, of some songs that hadn't come out in the decline. That whole period of time was kind of just commemorating what was going on in Los Angeles. All those bands, at the time, and she loved us. Lee and I would put up posters in Laurel Canyon before gigs, stapling them illegally to all the trees and telephone poles. And we knew that the neighbors hated it. So when this woman says, hey, we thought, oh, fuck, we got to run. Someone's caught us putting up posters with our staple gun. But it was Penelope, and we ran over to her when she's like, hey, I want to talk to you guys. And it was like, oh, she's not angry. So we went over and talked to her, and she goes, hey, I want to put you guys in a movie. And we're like, okay. She goes, I'm doing a documentary. And so we met up with her, and she told us kind of what she had in mind, and we were totally game. Unbeknownst to her, her husband, Bob Biggs, who is the president of Slash Records. So we didn't meet him till later, but we ended up doing the movie. The movie kind of came out 81 when the mosh pit was first formed. It was probably in 81. Before that, I was slam dancing. And by late 81, the mosh pit was kind of forming. It went from pogoing to slam to mosh. And she kind of wanted to get that on record and did so with all the bands she got. In that period of time, we were doing really well on the street and the movie, and then kind of nailed the coffin when we did Saturday Night Live. And by end of 81, we were working with Slash Records for a contract. And then by 82, we were out touring behind that record.
I think I did hear you somewhere say that there were some recordings that were made that night that were not shown that will be shown in the future.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is something I've always wanted to know about Decline of Western Civilization, because there's so many classic sets there. You got Black Flag, Circle Jerks, X, Fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And there's so little footage. Oh, and the Germs.
Right.
And there's so little footage of so many of those bands. And I'm wondering where the rest of this, I know she must have recorded the whole set.
She did.
Okay, so you're saying that she is going to put out the rest of the set for those groups?
Not,
or just Fear?
Maybe not the whole set, but there are certain songs, an extra song for some of the bands actually being released. So that's what I heard, and I'm not sure if that's going to be on a different DVD or where, but I did hear there's certain songs that Fear did, for instance. That's what I know for sure, that will be released.
Oh my God, that's such great news, because there's just so little footage of the Germs, you know what I mean? And to see some more Germs songs would be incredible.
I'm not sure. Yeah, you know? What I mean, when I speak to her again, I'll clarify that. I mean, she's a friend, and when she comes through town, we usually hook up and chat.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would appreciate that. Please let me know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just a random question. Have you ever met Gigi Allen? And if so, what memories do you have of him?
No, I never met him. He kind of came after Black Randy and the Elite Metro Squad. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Yeah.
Black Randy kind of beat Gigi to shitting on stage. Black Randy would actually go to other people's shows and shit on the dance floor, and then, shake his leg and the turd would be stomped on. And he thought that was so hilarious. And so Black Randy kind of introduced the feces entertainment factor long before Gigi. And I didn't really, I didn't interact with Gigi very much at all. More so the mentors. El Duce always called me his father, and he was a super awesome person, very nice, very cool person. And of course, he has a bad rep for whatever reason for wearing his, KKK black dunce cap. But he was a great entertainer too. And El Duce and Fear would spitting beer fights on stage, and just all entertainment and a punk factor in the days of Johanna Wendt. I don't know if you know who that is. but there was some just kind of gory things prior to bands like Gore, who kind of like focus on that form of entertainment.
They split that open and made it into like a entertainment.
Right. But prior to them was Johanna Wendt and of course Gigi Allen. And but Johanna Wendt, I really respected. She was an awesome person, very sweet, but an incredibly intense entertainer. Prior to anyone doing that sort of thing, gross props, she would have bloody worms down her panties and pull them out and eat them, and just like screaming and just very intense form of entertainment prior to Gigi Allen. So he kind of took note from a lot of people prior to his forming his form of entertainment, I think. So I had already seen things, I think, that were more intense than him before.
All right. I look forward to hearing your response to that question. Hey, well, my friend Amy told me to tell you hi.
Yes. At Tattoo Amy?
No.
Oh. Amy.
Not Tattoo Amy. She's my crew boss on GTA 5. And tonight was the 8th anniversary of the release of GTA 5. And the Fear song, The Mouth Don't Stop, The Trouble with Women is on the soundtrack.
Oh, right on.
And I love that song, but any idea why that song was chosen over some of the more well-known songs off the first album?
I don't know. Philo wrote that song. That's a total Philo Kramer song. He wrote lyrics and music and everything to that one. And his first wife was named Amy, coincidentally as well. That song was written about his first wife named Amy.
Oh, his wife was named Amy?
Mm-hmm. That's what that song was.
Amy?
That song was written about Amy.
That is such serendipity. Nice.
Amy was like a master chef. She would boil pasta noodles till they were like ridiculously big, and then add jalapenos and tomato sauce to the water, and that was dinner.
Right. Okay. So did you not know that song was on the GTA soundtrack?
I didn't, no. But I just know the song's history.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, hundreds of millions of people have probably heard that song just from playing GTA.
Yeah, GTA is like the biggest online game in the world.
I know Fast and Furious used a couple of Fear songs because I got a big royalty check for $250.
Is that it? So is that kind of how it goes? Like you're not getting paid very much from this?
I cannot make a living off of Fear. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's sad the way that
the lead singer makes a living off it, and the manager, but not so much me.
Is that because of contracts?
It's just what I signed up for, I guess.
Yeah. I understand that you created the first Red Hot Chili Peppers demo.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about earlier. I was saying Flea and I were not being represented on live shows. Our songs weren't being put on the set list, so we were kind of upset about that. So I totally supported Flea's other project, which was the Chili Peppers, so much so that I, for no charge, produced them in the studio and got their demos made, which went worldwide until they finally got signed to EMI.
How did it go worldwide at that time? Because now we have the internet. The internet was basically...
They got tapes to Keith Forsey, who produces Billy Idol and Nina Hagen, who I played with, and A Gang of Four. Keith Forsey's an awesome producer and drummer. So they got copies to him in England, and he played them for me, telling me it was the best Chili Peppers recordings. And I was listening to him as he's playing them for me, thinking, oh, this is too good. It can't be me, until I heard some bad tape, or I had recorded them in a hallway where I had to put 100 feet of XLR cable. So I got a lot of hum when I compressed the signal. And I was like, when I heard the hum and the a cappella sections, I realized it was my recording.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, so Keith is listening, telling me it's the greatest Chili Pepper recordings of all time. And then I realized, wait, that's my recordings. So
From back in the day.
This was in '84.
Okay.
Keith and Steve Shift and I were hanging out, partying, writing a song, and I went home because my kid needed to be fed, and it was my duty to go home and feed my kid and not keep partying all night. And they wrote "Don't You Forget About Me," that song, Tears for Fears, that song when I left. So had I not had a kid and kept partying, I would have been a co-writer on that song.
Wow.
Every time I hear it, it's like, darn it.
So how do people react about Red Hot Chili Peppers around you? Because when I came here to Portland, it's like nobody gives a shit about the Red Hot Chili Peppers for some reason. Do you get that, or is it a different vibe because you have been involved with them?
I guess it is different because I played in a band with Flea, and I totally supported his creativity and he as a person, and I saw how he was unappreciated in Fear, and how it was kind of I wasn't appreciated in Fear, so I saw myself in him. So I still feel that way, that I totally support him as a person and as a musician, as an entertainer. And so I look up them kind of because I knew them before, and I see them where they are now, but I still know them the way they were beforehand. And that's kind of how I look at them. So I don't see them, I guess, as some people see them.
Yeah. Well, I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I love them. It just was coming from North Dakota. It was kind of different coming out here, and like it's Nirvana's fucking cool, but Red Hot Chili Peppers are
more edgy.
Yeah, it's like that's a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but I mean, I'm a big John Frusciante fan though too. So I'm the later Red Hots because that's just I'm what 36 or 37, can't remember how old I am, but I guess I kind of got in there with that, and I'm a big fan of John Frusciante's solo albums. Like that's to me that's even better than the Red Hots. But yeah, just kind of find it funny. Like some bands or like some people around Portland kind of just don't. I guess what I'm trying to get at is there's a good example of this. I like the band Tool. I like that band, and you can't really talk about that within the doom scene, or when I first arrived anyway. And we were, because my band Rolling Through the Universe is like psychedelic doom, and nobody really wanted to talk about it. And then Yob, you know about Yob, right? Yob played on the East Coast with Tool because Danny Carey loved those guys, and Danny Carey flew into a Portland show where the drummer for Norska he had like a mini heart attack on stage, and then the next show Danny Carey played their whole set, and then from there, everybody in the scene was like, oh yeah, Tool's all right, it's okay, like this is good shit. It's just kind of bizarre to me that these fads come and go within a scene, and then once somebody of that nature, kind of like you, come in and just like everybody kind of changes because there's like a god there, basically, Well,
Tool has like some intelligent patterns, and I think like Nirvana is kind of square as far as the rhythms go.
Everything's simple,
kind of square,
simple and catchy.
It's like, okay, low key, and now scream it. It's like, okay, that's kind of like classic production, like start low down here, like nice day for a white wedding. Nice day for a white wedding. So it's like it's that classic production, whereas Tool is more intelligent, and I think there's a need for that. There's a balance. There's a need for both. There's a need for simplistic, but then Tool isn't so simplistic, but it still has that intensity that people like.
even like especially in the beginning, and I think a lot of people thought that they kind of like moved forward, just like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe what they think is sold out or whatever, where Kurt Cobain basically died before it got to that point. Maybe I don't really know. I'd love to hear it in any kind of comments if there's anything out there. I'd love to hear people's opinion on that, because I was slightly confused when I came here, just not being able to talk about two bands in general. Red Hot Chili Peppers and Tool. Like you just like kind of got to keep that quiet.
Well, Chili Peppers went through some personnel changes, unfortunately, very early on, and they kind of Anthony and Flea have been best buddies forever. So that's never going to change. That duo, but the other dynamics of drummers and guitarists kind of came and went, and they kind of lost focus, and then they kind of wanted to do rock. Do we want to do funk? And and they kind of fall back to the roots, which I think is funky, which that's my favorite kind of Chili Peppers stuff still. Mm-hmm. The record I was just listening to.
Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Yeah. Has some classic funk guitar stuff on it that I really dig, and that's my favorite stuff.
And that's what people point to.
Yeah, and I like Dave Mustaine. I like his influence, but they kind of went a rock direction with him, and I prefer the funk direction myself because that's the roots. That's really what with Hillel and Jack Irons was the original four was very funky, and it was that defunct. If you listen to that record Defunct, you'll hear kind of the roots of Chili Peppers that I really dig, and that's really what they're paying homage to, and that's what I dig. So whenever I think of Chili Peppers doing kind of poppy stuff and soulful singing stuff, it's like, okay, that's like auxiliary Chili Peppers. To me, their roots is more funk rap kind of stuff.
Yeah, and every band mostly kind of has that type of curve, where it just kind of, it's like it changes over time.
And you get bored. It's yin and yang. It's like you do sweet stuff, and it's like now I got to do dark stuff because it's just yin and yang.
And we all know that most bands don't have their original members.
True, yeah.
And it's just like it's really hard to get into a room with somebody with 4 or 5 dudes and basically kind of be married to them.
No, you are. It's a family for sure.
And I greatly appreciate how you guys are still ripping it with Fear and all the bands that you have gotten that you're involved with. Lickity's not going anymore, but
Nasal Rod is a family. It's like the 4 people, the 4 of us in Nasal Rod are a family.
Yeah.
They're such awesome people. And that Justin and I have talked about that. It's just like it's so important to just be when you're stuck in a van with someone that you really love and you respect. It's like makes life a joy to go to work, as opposed to I've got to listen to this guy's bullshit all day.
Yeah, and Chairman just played at the farm at my farm. That was fucking awesome. And Mark and the Horse Jerks came on here. We can't really say who Mark is, but he was on episode like 4 or 5 of Degenerate Life podcast. So like I'm a big fan of what you guys what everybody does in this scene.
But it's personnel. It's like for me, when you're in a band, if it's like a family, that's sustainable. And I could go forever with Nasal Rod because everyone in that band I love and I totally respect, and the precision and the musicianship is so high that I really don't see an end. It's just I look forward to practice.
God, that's awesome. That's a good way to look at life.
It's like fresh. When you got new material, you look forward to going to practice.
That's a good way to look at life. How is the other universe over there on the East Coast with you guys?
Well, okay. So my friend Sky told me to tell you to say hi, or my friend Sky told me to tell you hi.
Hey,
Spit Stix.
Hi to Sky.
Okay. Her fave movie is Clue.
Oh, right on.
When did you find out? When did you find out that Lee Ving would be in that movie, and what did you think of his performance?
Sting started to do movies, and the Police stopped working. Lee started to do movies, and Fear stopped working. So I wasn't into it, dude. He started doing movies, and Fear went on the back burner, and I was pissed, dude. And so was the Philo, Fear's guitarist. Both of us started our own solo projects because it's fucked up for us. It's like, hey, that's not doing anything for us, dude. It's like we totally put you in the spotlight, and you leave us in the fucking dump. So I didn't dig it, dude. I wasn't happy about that Lee's whole acting career was not good for me. It was good for him, but not good for me.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. It makes total sense. Mike, did you have anything to say?
No, I think I'm good for right now.
Right on. Well, let me see here. I just have random questions. Okay. Man. You ever met Johnny Thunders? If so, what are your memories of Johnny Thunders?
Gosh, I think I met Johnny once, and I didn't interact or hang with him. It's kind of like, yo, dude, what's up kind of thing. Not much interaction. But so many people like that where I would just meet. I just remember meeting like the drummer from the Vibrators, Eddie, and like I was a big fan of his, and I was like, yo, dude, hey, I love your work. And he's like, who are you? So there's a lot of that. Johnny Thunders was like, he didn't know my shit. He didn't know me for Adam. So there's a lot of people like that. And it's like, it's not about me, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, he was very much not into the punk scene. He just loved the old stuff, and he didn't know anything contemporary.
No, and a lot of people, even the Ramones, were like not into the punk thing. They came before the Sex Pistols, and they didn't want to be associated with it. Only when it would behoove them to get bigger crowds, it was like, oh, I guess we're a punk band. But I understood they were kind of turned off by it. Like Sid Vicious was like a model, not a musician, and they worked their asses off
downstroking.
That's
important with the pick.
Definitely.
Right on.
That separates the men from the boys.
Let me get your opinion on this. Okay, what did you think about these bands covering Fear songs? And this is the first time I ever heard a Fear song. Guns N' Roses covered I Don't Care About You. A Perfect Circle, related to Tool, covered Let's Have a War. Bad Religion covered Fuck Christmas and I Don't Care About You. Megadeth covered Foreign Policy. Soundgarden covered I Don't Care About You. Stormtroopers of Death, SOD, covered I Love Living in the City. And Turbo Negro covered I Don't Care About You. What do you think about all those?
I think it's great they're paying homage. What I noticed is every single band that covered I Don't Care About You didn't get my drum parts right. The drum pattern is an 8-bar pattern that repeats, and it's very distinct, and it's just really simple. They listened to the first 2 bars and they just repeated it. So, and I have a book called Diffusion of Useful Beats that I actually notated it note for note for people to. This is how it's a simple dumbass pattern that's like almost like a marching band pattern that repeats, but it's an 8-bar pattern. But nobody got it. Nobody got the pattern. Not one of those drummers listened to it properly. So that's what my only complaint was like, dude, it's only an 8-bar pattern, but so many drummers, they only hear 1 or 2-bar patterns, and that's as far as their brain goes. So
does this eat you up inside?
I just feel like, okay, I think in marching band, I was 12 when I joined drum corps, and the patterns of cadences in drum corps are 16 to 32 bars before they repeat. So very early on, I learned patterns that were long, and I guess that forged it in my brain that you don't have to repeat 1 bar, and so much music is like 1-bar beats, or 2-bar beats, and then it repeats, and I think that's so elementary. It's like, dude, you need to graduate to middle school at least.
Yeah, that's like one of the problems with me playing is I have these long, crazy things
Patterns.
that kind of, it's like 3/4 time with 4/4, and that's the riff,
Dude, I love that. That's what I'm talking. That's like classical music.
But it's hard to find drummers that can do that, And we were talking about that earlier. It's I'm glad that you're teaching drums to other people
and I teach 4 to 8 bar patterns. That's what I teach people. I'm like, even if it's a 1 bar pattern, like boom boom bop, boom boom bop, boom boom bop, bop bop, boom boom bop. That's a 4 bar pattern. By just changing the 4th bar by 1 note.
Yeah, it gives tension to the riff.
Right.
And
it makes it a story rather than just this like monotonous, like repetitive acid trip, that's like stuck. It's like, one word stuck in my head.
Yeah. Another thing is, I have problems like being in that repetitive acid trip that as you so speak of.
One bar. You know how it is when you're coming off the last few hours of acid, like, get the fuck out of my brain. 1 word is stuck there. That's what I feel like some of these 1 bar patterns are. Like, that's so elementary, dude. You're using teeny part of your brain rather than your whole brain that can memorize a 16 bar pattern or 8 bar or at least 4 bars.
But isn't that it though? I think that most people just kind of, for most music, it's basically very elementary and very easy. So
it is. Unfortunately, rap is like that too, and I hate it. There's a few like Twister or old school Busta Rhyme guys that are like, or even like Eminem, that are machine gun, that are dope, because I like writing rhymes where they're like,
yeah,
that's wicked hard to do. But so many rhymers are just like da 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 la da 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 ba.
Yeah, that's
bop bop, and it's like, dude, just turn that into a drum beat. It's boring.
We're going into like a Xanax, like a Xanax regurgitated, especially with rap. I mean, to me, it's Del the Funky Homo Sapien. That's like my jam with that. That just rolls everywhere. I'm not a big fan of rap too much, but
but when it's rhythmically interesting, it gets my attention.
Yeah.
When it's like challenging and not elementary, then it's interesting. Then it's like, I'll pay attention to that, and then I'll honor that, and I'll even learn it, and I'll repeat it, and I'll teach it to my students.
That's awesome.
But not elementary. That.
Yeah.
Right. All square. It's like, and it may have dope lyrics. You may be saying something epic, but it's like, boil it down. And it's like, I studied with Art Pepper, and Art Pepper is like a famous saxophonist, jazz musician. He's like, all right, hum me your melody without lyrics. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just hum it to me without lyrics. Just hum me your melody. And he says, it has to live there. He's like, if it doesn't sound good, just humming. And you listen to so much music, they don't play by those rules. And some of these melodies are just like 1 note. Rhythms are boring. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like,
yeah,
grow up. Go to college on your rhythms.
Things can just get boring. I get bored with stuff all the time, and I'm with you on that. All right, so we've kind of been through the hoops on the old school music, and I know that JPX and Stuntman Mike would talk about that forever. I could talk about that forever, but both you and I have been through some very odd experiences, and I kind of want to dig into that for just a tad bit and see where that goes. You can go. I mean, anybody can go to the Lost Rhetoric podcast and listen to Spit Stix endeavor on that, and that's a full version. But I want to kind of get in here with the aliens, because this is a big topic. We're getting into a situation where our government is stating that, yeah, these things are there. We don't really know what they are, and I assume that you're kind of there too, Tim. You're still you're in that. What's going on?
I think they're aware of what's going on. They just can't say what's going on. And they're afraid that it will cause the end of all civilization and it'll cause riots. And you think, what would cause that? And if they say it would end all religion, and if it would end all religion, then what would cause something ending all religion? And to me, it's like something that would cause the ending of all religion would be blowing the whistle on what created religion. And what created religion in that case would be to control all of us. And if they blow the whistle on the miracles, these technological so-called miracles that were created to form religion to control us psychologically, that makes sense. It's like if you want to control a civilization and you can't control them physically, you control them psychologically with a religion. And if the whistle is blown that they created the religions, if these aliens created a religion to control us, then that would end religion. So it's like, oh, you've been deceiving us this whole time because you created religion to control us.
Yeah, it's kind of like a box within a box within a box, and our government is one of those boxes. Like the world, they're trying to control this information that's coming in. It's kind of the question always is, do they know what they're up to? Because in your family, we've been through you've been through these situations where these beings are basically taking advantage of your family.
Definitely. And many, I think millions of families, but the deceit is what makes me very suspicious, because there's this cover-up of the Men in Black. There's the cover-up of memories being masked of your experience when you're being abducted, and all this deceit and all this cover-up and all this hidden information.
Hidden agendas,
I think, yeah. And to me, it makes me very suspicious. So I don't trust them. I don't like aliens. I don't trust them. I think they're totally up to no good. And I think
the earth is full, go home.
Yeah, but they're here. And they've probably been here before us, and they've been here the whole time. But I think they're controlling us. And psychologically, it's easier to control us with religion. What's the easiest way to control a mass? By controlling us with absolutes, and with religion is a great way to control, maybe not all religions, but I think the most religions are a way to control people psychologically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really understand how we could be in this point in time and still have religion running rapidly and controlling people's lives. It's very bizarre to me. I thought back in the,
and financially too.
Financially too. Well, yeah, that could be probably part of the whole thing, Stuntman. This could be, I mean, if you look at just kind of the way that it seems that they have manipulated the world, it would be pretty easy to, let's just put a scenario out there. Would it be easier to make robots and go and mine a planet? Or would it be easier to send or manipulate a species like us with 2 arms, 2 legs, and convince them that gold and silver that's the shit. You got to get that stuff, and then just take it away from them. I mean, that's how I would do it if I was sinister enough to be.
It's way easier.
It's way easier.
We domesticate wolves. We pick the most docile.
We do with cats
out of the litter. To the point where they've got floppy ears and they bark so we can harvest their wool. So I think we're being harvested and dummied down. I think my cat knows when I'm awake. I don't let her in the door because she'll jump on my window and jump on my bed. And so I don't let her in the door until I'm awake. When I'm finally getting up, she knows when I'm awake for the final time and I'm really awake, and she meows at my door. So even cats are telepathic. Dogs I know are telepathic. Even plants, out of this book I read called Secret Lives of Plants.
I love that book. But that has been a little slightly debunked, though.
Has it?
Yeah. But I know exactly what you're talking. On my farm, I can't wait for you to come there because I just inoculated mycelium everywhere, mushrooms everywhere, and the idea that the plants actually communicate. I think that is true.
And I think we're dummied down. I think our DNA has been modified by aliens.
I think so.
But we've been dummied down. Our telepathic abilities, we can't even remember our past lives. I think all that has been done by them to dummy us down for whatever reasons they're harvesting us for.
I think they've been engineering us, and that's the most reasonable explanation. Do I know that to be pure fact? No.
Neither do I, but I suspect it.
Yeah. It just seems like there's a end of, you can feel it with psychedelics. You can get to that point, but it seems like there's an area where you can't, like, maybe I just never got there, but there's a ceiling.
That's where I think our DNA has been modified.
Yeah, it's like you can't really go that far, and not even that. It's like nobody's telling you can't go there. It's just kind of like there's the end of the wall. Stay within these parameters.
I think Bigfoot is an example of they haven't been modified. I think Bigfoot's an example. They can transcend dimension, and they're telepathic, and they're not controlled so much by these things.
They could be. Yeah, I don't know. I know I went out to, but Bigfoot's that's a tough one. Aliens are way more convincing to me, but I know that me and Katie went out mushroom picking, and we went way up into the mountains where there was nobody there, and we heard some crazy shit. Some crazy shit to where I popped off 3 or 4 rounds with the 9mm. You know, I was a little fucked up, but it's like that. Just that is like, wow, this is like something fucked up is going on here. It could have been an animal, don't know, but you know, we're actually in Portland, Oregon, and outside the city, it's woods. You know,
that less survival dude said he was telepathically communicated with Bigfoot that were over a couple humps, and they said, "You want to meet us?" and he chickened out. But they communicated with him telepathically. And
it seems like they may have that kind of.
But I think that was an ability we had at one time that we've been dummied down for whatever reason. I think all their modifications that they've done have been to dummy us down.
And I think they're modified too. If it's like the alien grays, they're probably, there's more than like the other alien races, because I think that if there are aliens, there's going to be a shit ton of different species and all that stuff.
And for different purposes. But I don't think they like our independence, our artistic abilities, and our freedom, and our maybe odd thinking. I think that doesn't fit with the galaxy. I think the galaxy is probably boilerplate and pretty regulated. And I think we don't fit. I don't think we fit in that artistic pattern. Probably doesn't fit in the galaxy. I have a feeling that our artistic ways of thinking and our alternative ways of living doesn't fit in the galaxy.
So can you walk me through at least one of your experiences? And, I think a lot of your family members have kind of been through the same thing. I believe that you're possibly dealing with alien grays, the short.
Which I think are probably kind of like clones. I think the clones are, I don't know if they're robotic, but I think they're very clone-ish. Yeah. My only personal experience face-to-face with anything was the thing I mentioned on Jason's show, where I had this grapefruit-sized ball on my nightstand, and it was emulating a light that was coming out of it very slowly. And as the light hit me, it almost knocked me out with the feeling of pleasure. And prior to that, it had spoken to me in my father's voice saying that there's someone I'd like you to meet. This is the one that likes you. And as time went on, I realized it was grooming me. It was like petting me, saying, this is the one that likes you. It's just like appealing to my ego, which is not something spiritual at all. It's very, very much in the ego and very much in this physical form, 3D form. So I think that feeling of pleasure that it hit me with was technological. So I think that was very foreign. It was very deceiving, and it was very deceptive, that feeling that I got punched with pleasure. Because I had the feeling since one of my friends was standing next to me at the No at a show one day.
The old no or the new no?
The old no on Alberta.
Which they're all old now, but
right. But Alberta, and I was playing a show there. My friend Caroline, who's like 30 years younger than me, is like a musician pal of mine, and she was just standing next to me. And I'd been divorced for a couple of years, and I'd submerged all my romantic feelings, and I had this kind of irising open of my heart. My romantic feelings came open in kind of a very soft opening kind of way, and then it just exploded my heart, and then it faded away. And that was the natural feeling of pleasure and romanticizing love, as opposed to that burst and punch that the aliens gave me that was very technological, and it was like boom, a punch, and it knocked me out.
You got techno bombed.
I did, and it was like an awesome feeling. I've never done heroin, but it was the best feeling in the world. But now I realize one was fake and one was real, and I had the pleasure to have the real experience of that real bursting out of my heart, as opposed to the technological one. So now I look back at that whole experience of this ball emulating light in my bedroom that morning, and the voice in my head and the feeling punching of love is all fake. It was all fake. And so I totally think aliens are deceiving us, and the whole Men in Black are hiding something that's really going on that we don't know what's going on. And
well, supposedly they kind of show up, and they may be aliens too. Like some of them like have fucked up mouths, and they're like trying to act like
they're just
like
covering. That's damage control.
Damage
Those are
control.
All damage control dudes. The MIBs are.
Well, I feel the same way. Like I've always said this. All my friends know this. My wife knows this. My family knows this. I always felt slightly artificial as a human being. I'm like, I just have always felt a little slightly artificial. You know, like I feel things that, you know, I feel nature and everything, but it does, especially when I did azarescent mushrooms. Those are the coastal, super strong, little tiny guys that, here you go. Here's the end of the box. It wasn't fun. And it taught me a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff about the music scene. It told me like, okay, there's circles of people and these like groups of people, but it wasn't like a fluent standard Cubenzi trip. So with that said, I feel slightly artificial.
But maybe it's just you're from a different realm and you're forced to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm having a blast on this planet. Let's just put it that way. I think you are too.
I am too. I think no matter where we are, we're in the present, and that's we make the best of where we are. But I think for some reason, some of us are forced to be here, and I don't know why. Why are we robbed of our memory of our past lives? Why is all that erased? Why aren't we telepathic? Plants are telepathic. Animals are telepathic. Why aren't we?
They are, because
I can send love. I can feel the love when I do mushrooms. I can feel the love from living plants. Feel them.
It's amazing, and it's like it's not like something where you're gonna want to do it again the next day.
No,
it's just
it lasts.
It just lasts for, and
you can call it back. It's one of those beautiful things.
It's a reset. I haven't done mushrooms for 6 years. It was like before the election.
I love mushrooms. It just makes me totally love plants. I can look at a plant and love it because they can't see themselves, but I can see them and I can tell them they look beautiful.
And they love little handshakes. They love it because they get stimulated. I
feel love from living things that I can remember. I can still love a plant I'm looking at right now because I felt that on mushrooms so strongly.
Oh, I'm right there with you. You know, it's awesome, and that's how it is with music too. Like you can feel these memories, and that's what we're kind of doing collectively. We're pushing the boundaries all the time. We're running out of ways to do that because you guys pushed the envelope for in your face, kind of like a jokingly fuck you thing that people really just held on to. And
it was just necessary.
It was necessary.
The Victorian repressive sexuality and everything was so repressed prior to that, it needed to explode.
And there was the explosion happened, and then it got to this point where when I hopped into this whole progressive music, heavy music, punk, and everything in between, I thought that it was like it's over with. It's just going to keep on going. But now it seems like it's kind of coming back into itself, where everybody's kind of like, you said something wrong. You said something wrong, and it's all
which is fine.
It is fine because people need to be called out. Because if you do something fucked up within society, you need to be told, and you need to be put in your place.
Means you care.
And I think what the world needs to know is sometimes people need to be told, and then they need to be they need to be helped to get back. I don't think it should be like you say something wrong and you're done. Because I've said many, many wrong things in my life. I know that we all have, and I think that's basically a good place to kind of leave this conversation until next time.
Just being in the present. That's my whole thing. I live in the present. I think of all my transgressions when I do sativa, and I'm like, fuck, I'm living in the past. Or I worry about my shit in the future. I'm like, that's the future. It's like, live in the present. Just breathe. Just
breathe a little bit.
Live here.
Mostly we want Stuntman Mike to breathe. And just think about all that. Like think about what you do in your body with that hot sauce.
The green hot sauce is sweet. I like it over my cold cereal.
Hey, be careful.
The green nukes is sweet.
Like Spit Stix was saying, live in the now. Don't worry about the future. Trying to think about the past, just live in the now.
You made your decisions in the past. You can't regret. I think of I jammed with the guitarist from Helmet, and it was so dope. The bass player and I and the guitarist from Helmet jammed in New York City, and it sounded so dope. And I was so regretful years later that I didn't form a band with those two guys. And then I'm like, I was doing my own thing. I just had gotten signed. I was doing Victoria's Secret. I had a bunch of my own shit. And I realized you can't live in the past. You made those decisions, and you just got to move forward. Live in the present, not the past.
You hear that, Stuntman? We want you back. We want you to be healthy.
Yeah. I'm definitely. I need to get on the road to being healthy, and I'm going to start that tonight.
Okay.
That's definitely some very good advice from Spit Stix.
Live in the present.
Not just for me, but for anybody,
And JPX, like I know you're really close to Stuntman. We want to keep him alive because we got a lot of episodes to go.
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of episodes to go. This is.
You got 608 left or something.
Did somebody just say butt cheeks?
I was just saying, coming out. You got to come out of elephant's butt cheeks.
Oh yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm Stuntman. I'll survive.
Right.
All right, Stuntman. Now that you're loaded up with hot sauce, I know you took like I don't know, probably 3 or 4 bottles down during this of hot sauce.
Yeah.
Do you want to just lead this one out and let you want to just take care of business and close this one out?
Yeah, man. I think we should wrap it up, man. I think it was a epic episode. First episode, and it was a home run. We're just gonna keep hitting them out of the park from here on out in baseball terms. So
Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, like like Babe Ruth.
No, it's like Ken Griffey Jr.
Keep swinging.
Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah.
Just Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah. We should, call it, it's a wrap or whatever they say, in Hollywood. Yeah, I would say happy birthday, Ken Kesey, but that was yesterday now. So.
Oh, damn it. Well, happy belated birthday to Ken Kesey.
Yeah. Now we're into Jimi Hendrix died on this day, but Dee Dee Ramone was born.
See, every day is special, though,
But we're experiencing different days because you guys are on the East Coast,
right? Still early. It's only 5 o'clock.
Right. You guys. Oh, that's right. You guys are still on Ken Kesey's birthday over there.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
We got two different
now we're
birthdays.
now we're into Patty Hearst got captured on this day. You guys are still on Doors got banned from Ed Sullivan for singing "Girl, We Couldn't Get Much Higher."
Wow. Yeah.
And me and Stuntman Mike are into the Who released I Can See for Miles on this day.
Wow. Look at that. Very bizarre world we live in. Different time zones and shit.
Yeah, you guys are into famous mycologist Roger Heim died on September 17th. We're
Wow.
on Beach Boys release Smiley Smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Beach Boys.
Yep. It's good to be with you guys and feeling you and love you guys. And anytime you guys want me back, I'm here.
Awesome, man.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, man. We really, really appreciate it.
All good, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. How about you keep it on the DL? Keep it on the DL. Keep it on the DL. Keep it on the DL. Keep it on the DL.